It is Friday, August 30th, 2024. I am Mark Sebastian, your only option. This is Option Pit Live. We have a great show for you today. Today, we're going to react to PCE. We're going to talk about what's going on with NVIDIA and the overall market. We're going to be looking at DELL, some of the big earnings that happened this week. We'll take a look at the volatility index, and if we're lucky, maybe we can hitch a ride on Andrew's trading vehicle. But let's start with the news that is out. That is PCE. This is allegedly the Fed's favorite indicator. I don't know who decided it's the Fed's favorite indicator, but it is. And it came in at a 0.2% increase for July. That is the personal consumption expenditures index. And it was expected to be 0.2, and it was. And year over year, 2.5%. That is in line. On that news, we got a little bit of a bounce out of the futures out of that, but basically kind of nothing. Leading into the news, S&P futures were about 56.30. Coming out of the news, S&P futures are about 56.30. Pre-market, NASDAQ futures, this is really where the action has been. They're up 0.75%, up about 141. VIX futures are down about 10 cents. Looking at the bond market, bonds are just eking down just a touch on that PCE news. And the long bond is flat. So all in all, this doesn't appear to be, a big change for the market. Nothing that it appears to be really crazy. Now, the one that's kind of, I think, threw people for a loop yesterday was NVIDIA. And the earnings came out, and this was something I thought was kind of interesting. So ahead of NVIDIA's earnings, and this is where actually looking at data can be valuable. So prior to NVIDIA's earnings, and this is according to Cboe LiveVol, so this is Cboe's data. Prior to earnings, the market was pricing at about a 10.3% moved. It dropped a little over 6%. Well, leading into this announcement, I saw that big number, and I asked myself, how does NVIDIA move when there is a big number associated with its earnings expectations? And what I found was kind of interesting. Since 2011, there have been about 54 earnings announcements. In only 12 of them, now 13, including this last one, did NVIDIA price in a move greater than 8%. So what happened in those 12 occurrences? 3 times it moved more than what the market was expecting. 9 times it moved less. In those 12 occurrences, 5 times it was up, 5 times it was down, and 2 times it was unchanged. I define unchanged as up or down less than 1%. Well, now it's 10 out of the last 13 that it has moved less than expected on its earnings straddle. So what that goes to show us, and this is actually, anecdotally, so I don't have the hard data behind this outside of NVIDIA, but anecdotally, I would venture to say that if you look at when earnings fever hits, it's not like Saturday Night Fever, it's earnings fever. when earnings fever hits and you see a stock get really, really pumped into its earnings, it's going to behave like NVIDIA. So NVIDIA, 75% of the time, moves less than that earnings. Now, here's the thing to be aware of, though. What happened those 3 times when it did outperform its earnings cycle? It did so by almost 200%. So when it does move more than that expectation, it's a lot more. And that, my friends, is kind of a pattern that we do see in a lot of stocks. So call me after having looked at the data unshocked on what NVIDIA did. I was surprised that the one thing that surprised me was that it didn't recover as the day progressed. It softened as the day progressed. And when I call on Andrew here in just a second, that's the piece I want to talk to him about, because NVIDIA, the last few times when it's dropped, like look at Apple, its last earnings were not very good. It dropped. And then what happened? It meanders its way higher all day and ends up being a nothing burger of earnings. NVIDIA actually kind of opened up only down like $1 or $2 and then closed down over 6%. Now, pre-market, it's up $1, but I would imagine that maybe we see a little bit more of that today. So there, friends, is your hot take on NVIDIA and where we are with PCE. Let's bring in one Andrew T. Giovinazzi and discuss this kind of the NVIDIA fever that hit the market yesterday.
One of my favorite NVIDIA things from you. Hello, everybody, by the way. It was when you were describing, was it you describing it as the vampire that was sucking all the life out of the market? And maybe the vampire's dead. Somebody drove a stake in its heart and they're like, okay, well, it's $3 trillion now. It's as big as Apple, and Apple has,
50x the sales.
Yeah, something like that. And it's not that NVIDIA is not a great company, but at some point, they do get pricey. 3 trillions,
Well, they're pricing in exponential growth. And when you look at the numbers, they're linear.
Yeah. They're good.
They're good. But they're linear.
Yeah. And how many stocks have we seen that have split this year and they've kind of plateaued after the split? Chipotle is one. We had the Amazon split a few years ago. Hasn't done anything since the split, really. Apple actually is one of the few that post-split has done well, as I recall. Still, impressive. Walmart, surprisingly, post-split, done like crazy well. And again, right now I like Walmart a little better than Amazon. But you look at NVIDIA and you're like, okay, well, I think at this point we've had about a year of the AI boom, maybe 2, you think? Are we kind of 2 years into that first year was
18 months? Yeah, at least 18 months. Yeah.
Right. Now, it's a little bit like,
how much more are you going to price in?
Yeah. And how about show me the money a little bit? That SMCI, that accounting irregularity, or could potential accounting irregularity. They pushed out their earnings report. So you look at it and go, okay, let's see some dough now. And I think the biggest one is, if we pulled up a chart here, I can pull it up if Max wants to show, but look at Microsoft lately over the last 3 months.
Yeah.
And this was like, and they are, I think, a big consumer of, of NVIDIA chips and AI and all things,
Microsoft is currently worth less than NVIDIA, which is absolutely ridiculous.
as you would say, bananas. Isn't that
Ridiculous.
bananas?
It's bananas. It's ridiculous, Andrew.
So, what I like, okay, would I short NVIDIA? No, because I've learned in the last tech boom, and I'm dating myself here, but internet boom, which was, I mean, you have to think about how much economic growth that delivered post, like an enormous amount, huge. Every company you're looking at basically is a result of that, how much wealth was created. So it's still, and I think that's why the market is where it is. You're still kind of riding that. But you want Microsoft to kind of kick it up a little bit, like they're loving Apple, but not Microsoft. So it's Google faces some antitrust action, so it's kind of stuck. So you're in a position here where, where are the leaders taking us out? And you had some thoughts on that about, the Dow and maybe some industrial stocks and so you're kind of at the point where big tech is, maybe 500 will be the peak for the year and we might get back there for the Q. But where does the leadership now come in, going to the election, coming into the end of the summer here?
Yeah.
Because clearly NVIDIA is, I just think it's tired. I think it was a great call buying stock. Clearly people made a fortune in it.
I think it's a covered call selling. I think it's a call selling stock now.
I think kind of that's sort of what it is now.
So here was the part that I thought was kind of strange. The fact that it got like weaker as the day progressed, I thought was very counter trend of the way all these stocks have behaved over the last few quarters. Apple gaps down and then they slowly buy it all up, but buy it up throughout the day, right?
Right.
NVIDIA does the same thing. NVIDIA literally did the same thing, 2 quarters ago, right? Where it gapped a lot lower and then it dipped the day down 2.5%. Yesterday, it was down overnight. They bought it back, and then they almost moved it to the overnight lows by the end of the day. And, that kind of proceeded to the whole market melting down. What was
I have a chart of NVIDIA up here. It's none of the action looks very good.
That price behavior.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. I mean, ultimately, when stocks go down, like, do you want to catch a falling knife here? Even $100 NVIDIA is a richly valued company. Yet at $90, at $80. So I'm not saying it's going there tomorrow. I'm ambivalent as to kind of direction here. If anything, I think you kind of sell the juice in it and just wait. Because it's still too much in the news. I think the stock will have some support at some level, but I think you're going to be a little range bound here.
Yeah.
And today up $1,
I think they're going to fade it.
I don't see how it holds up, but I agree. I just think it's going to be a little meander out for a while.
Another earnings that hit this morning was DELL. DELL came out this morning, currently moving about $6.
That actually will be my trading vehicle.
Oh, well, there you have it. So I'll let you chat through the DELL earnings for your vehicle.
Yeah, I think DELL is a very interesting stock, like vis-a-vis like SMCI too.
Yeah, SMCI has some real problems. Question for you, is the guy that paid $1,014.02 a share for SMCI still employed.
That was a bold purchase. I would say that was a bold purchase. I'm going to say no.
That's very generous of you to say bold. But you know, this was a stock. Nvidia at least has some like realness to it, if you will. Like they legitimately make money. They legitimately are doing some things. SMCI is to me the one of the lesser compelling computer, you know, chip groups out of this whole
Yeah,
thing.
and they're just like a computer hardware like put her together type company. I mean, they trade. It's a pretty rich multiple for, you know, like those. And by the way, historically, they never hold up. Never. I've never seen one like the stocks, you know, but the multiple ultimately comes down, and then the stocks start to, you know, and then
on a
but
TT, the multiple seems to it's kind of normalized down here at if their numbers aren't phony, the
Right.
multiple is normalized back down to 450.
It feels a little bit it feels a little bit more real. But that's the big thing, you know, are they going to take a 50% haircut or 25% haircut, or you don't know.
So this just in, Microsoft is now worth more than Nvidia again.
Which is it should be. So I haven't like
several companies should be worth more than Nvidia.
Yeah, I mean, but also, okay, can we discuss something else? We don't have Leisha here. She's laying on the beach somewhere in Florida or whatever, getting a tan. How about the market action yesterday? What happened yesterday? Was that a Fed speaker? Like, once again, so you just had the Jackson Hole last week, FOMC, and then didn't we have some guy just say, well, I don't know how we're going to cut rates?
I can't imagine. I don't know. What I did note is that, you know, Apple had been booming. It was absolutely was up huge, and that one got sold pretty hard.
Right.
You know, meanwhile, the Dow stayed strong the whole time. It was a NASDAQ-led rally. So I think it was money coming out of Apple and Nvidia continuing to weaken. I didn't see any really compelling news that drove us.
Right.
Maybe it was maybe a Fed guy didn't help, but I think it was just, you know, traders saying, yeah.
Okay, I got a last one for you.
All right, what do you got?
All right. VIX.
Oh, the volatility index?
Volatility index. Are you familiar with that?
You know, it didn't really. What was interesting is how little it responded to the sell-off.
Yep.
Which tells me that, you know, in an orderly sell-off might not get you a vol pop.
Right. Well, and another thing too is we're now kind of plumbing some of the lower levels, but from Monday of last week, right? We had that vol pop. We had a couple of, you know, the Fed scares going into last week. Vol subsided, but we have not gotten back to the lows. And if I go back 20 days, we actually, you know, we were a bit lower here, you know, when we had the whole, like, obviously this was everybody just getting out in front of the vol. And I think you said the vol was oversold here when we were in trading desks, like the little crazy, right? So, but we are not back to this sort of what I would call the happy place of where we were. Now, my next question for you is, realized vol is down to 12% in SPX over the last 10 days. So do you want to hold like 15.5 vol in SPX? So you're holding, today is the 30th of August. So you're holding September 30 vol.
So Andrew, here's kind of the interesting thing. I was looking at your exact question last night in some of my write-ups. And you're right, realized vol on a close basis is over the last 10 days is down to 10.19%. But ten-day ATR, average true range, 65 points.
Oh, that's the problem.
Yeah.
We're still running over 1% intraday.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah, that is exactly right.
Did you get that at Live Vol? I like that. Where'd you get
Yeah,
the
I
is that
got
the
that
yellow
in
chart?
live vol.
Is that the yellow chart?
Yeah. You want me to change the
Ah,
color so it's easier to see?
I like that. All right. I'm gonna add that to my thing. I know I
I
have
don't
it
know if
in
I
our
can
other
change the
sheet,
color.
but it's come down, but it's still pretty high.
Yeah, I mean, it got up into the 90s, but prior to, ATR was running about 40 when the VIX was in the 12s. So it running on a 10-day trailing ATR 65.
It's still pretty high.
Yeah, it's vol.
Mark,
We're
why don't
still
you
moving
explain
around a lot.
ATR to people too, in case
ATR is the average true range, is what that stands for. So it's not just measuring the close to close, it's taking account how much we're moving on a daily basis. So
go to the
think
intraday
like,
move, high low.
open, high, low. It takes all that into account.
So you're telling me the liquidity providers remember how much this stuff is moving during the day?
I do. I am telling you that, and they do. All right. Well, I wanted to look at for stocks that I'm kind of liking before we decide.
Yeah, what do you
Whether
got?
we're
You've
going
had
to
some
take a
good ones
ride
lately.
on
What do you got?
Andrew's trading vehicle. I wanted to look at, last week I had said I think it's time to get back into Minnesota mining and manufacturing, 3M, and it has since continues to go up. I personally like 3M to, if you look at it at long term, for years, it usually hung in around 150 to 175. I think it's just going back to its old range. And then
So litigation, I think, is kind of past them
I think
now.
they've worked their way out.
Oh.
Along those lines, I know it's a boring stock, but I think pays a really nice dividend. This stock pays a 4% dividend.
Are we talking Nordstrom?
Kenvue.
What's the symbol?
KVUE.
What the heck is this?
They are so Johnson & Johnson split like its over-the-counter stuff from its medical business.
And so they
this
called
is like
it
cotton swabs.
So they called this Kenvue?
Yeah. That sounds like Kenvue sounds like a dark web stalker equipment reseller.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
I need to stalk a girl. Hey, go to Kenvue over on the dark web. He can sell you everything you need.
I was about to say it's like a blue channel for the Ken Barbie dolls. Some freaking weird crap. Kenvue. I wonder how much they paid for that.
Well, they spun it off, but it's a terrible name. You're right.
Yeah.
So, but don't look now. This is another one that's kind of through the litigation, and because they had the issue with
so they spun the powder into Kenvue.
Yeah. Among other things.
80-cent dividend though. That's actually not too bad.
Yeah, run a cover call. And then I keep saying it. I think you got to take a leg out on Intel. I'm buying Intel. Like straight up just buying the stock.
Really?
I'm tired of the options. I'm tired of it. I'm literally just buying the stock.
Are they like so? So does Intel make money? I don't even know what their situation
They
is.
make money. They've got some issues. They got to get if they can get the fabrication. If they start fabricating chips, the chip fabrication is worth more than the whole company.
Because because they've been kind of scraping along. I mean it. I think what is the company is basically worth? Is it less than like the book value of the whole? Yeah. So
book value is $26 a share.
Yeah, and it has $7 of share in cash. So you're right. The company's basically worth nothing.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's an interesting long, especially if you can get this fabrication business moving. They are going to make a fortune at that. Or unless they're Intel, then they'll botch that up.
Well, they used to be so good at engineering, like at being a chip company, and now they're, I guess that's their.
I was actually talking to a former employee that now works at a competitor, and she said the new management was problematic. Not this guy, but the one before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's hard to, you got 124,000 employees. You got to kind of motivate them. So, but it's on my list. I haven't done anything with it. Actually, it's actually kind of ripping today.
Yeah, it's up a little bit pre-market.
Well, I mean, let's think of it this way. Do you have an easier chance of making 20% on your money in Intel this year or in NVIDIA?
Oh, Intel easy.
Yeah. So it's like,
I mean, Intel, just because someone will get excited ahead of their next earnings and start buying it and be like, oh, hey, Intel.
Right.
But what has what was interesting? Did they have the self-driving, the Waymo? Was Waymo them?
Is Waymo is that the Chinese self-driving thing?
No, not them. Didn't they spin off? What did they spin off?
Oh yeah, Mobileye.
Yeah, Mobileye. They
had
off
the whole
Mobileye.
Self-driving, all the chips and everything. I thought that would have been a huge thing for them.
Yeah. So
and they screwed it up.
Mobileye they spun off. That's currently worth another $11.3 billion. But you want to know why I think Mobileye is failing?
Why?
Because they installed it in the wrong vehicle. Instead of cars, they should have put it in one specific vehicle. Andrew's trading vehicle. In this segment, Andrew's going to take us down Andrew's trading vehicle to show us what he's thinking about DELL and how he wants to trade it. Take it away, Andrew. You like that segue? I even pulled it. That was pretty good.
I think you hit all the bases of the show. That was impressive.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, hello everybody. Welcome. So today I am going to look at, as we alluded to earlier, DELL. Now you got to say here, if you could show the screen that I have. Oh, actually show the Max, if you could show just the chart there. So DELL has had quite a run this year overall. So last year was in the 50s, solidly profitable company. Michael Dell has been, shepherding it, whatever, for a long time. One of the better CEO visionary guys, especially in this space. But anyway, if you look at it on the chart, so they were making nice with NVIDIA, and the stock just went to the moon. And it was a little hypey. I think Mark and I had a couple of trades on it. And just the hype just happened, so we kind of lucked out on that. But I did buy some shares of this a couple weeks ago, like right after the carry bomb thing went off. So usually when the market does crazy stuff like that, I'll pick up shares of companies I'm interested in, and and Dell putting chips in and AI and whatever. I think there's still, this sector will still have demand. And I thought Dell was kind of got back to a reasonable price below 100. So I bought some, but now, we just had earnings out. The stock is doing okay. And I think, SMCI, money leaving that name might flow into a more reasonably priced company. And I think Dell's still reasonably priced here. Now, look at the action of, if you show my screen here, and you can see a little hint at the end. I mean, Dell was doing nothing into the earnings, nothing. Kind of coiling around for weeks and weeks and weeks. Now, today it's up 5%, but I think we could see a little bit more of a pop. So, because it was kind of doing nothing, so it sold off after the carry bomb thing, the yen, whatever that unwind was, and it's made its way back up pretty easily. Just had kind of what I thought was sort of a blowout number. Still plenty of room as a company to go. I would say maybe 120, 125 in the next couple of weeks. And mostly right because it's just trying to get back to where it was like pre-carry bomb. Nvidia is selling a lot of chips. And again, I'm trying to just catch Dell on the upswing here. So now earnings are yesterday. So I really didn't have a vol profile. Doesn't make a ton of sense because the volatility will generally be a lot lower today. And then we have a 3-day weekend. So it's kind of in my head, I'm waiting to, toward the end of the day. It might not even be today, just depending if the vol crush is kind of steady, I'll sort of let it happen. But I think you could come up with some like longer term 120, 125 call calendars in here. Just kind of let the stock drift up. And I think it would be, it will end up being a profitable trade. I think there's definitely some upside here, but the stock is not a huge mover, but it has showed, when they whisper the AI thing here, now we've just broken to this level, and this is kind of like when everybody was starting to freak out here. So I don't think 125, 130 is too reasonable or too unreasonable to get back to. Especially since it just sat here doing nothing for weeks while the rest of the market was going up. So I feel like when that sort of torpor sort of goes away, money comes back into it, and I think just call calendars, I'm thinking like 120 or 125, depending on the duration, will work pretty well. Might even be just regular straight calls. So we'll see how that pricing goes. And I can report next week on what I ended up doing, but I think this is a good one. And with that is the trading vehicle for today.
All right. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Well, we got about 3 minutes here. As we're wrapping up the show, S&P futures have come off a bit. On the number, we reached a high of 56.40. We're now still right around 56.30. Nvidia still hanging around up $1. NASDAQ futures are up, 154. Dow futures are up about 65. VIX futures are down. Call it a dime. What are you thinking for the day into the long weekend?
I think like we'll have some broader, it'll kind of be a stock picking day. I think the broader market is not going to do much. It might maybe touch the highs of yesterday, but I think with I'm seeing SPY is only 60, 70, 560, 72. So it's up about 0.5%. It's like,
yeah,
maybe, but I honestly think probably the trade is like short premium for the first time in a while. Like iron condors, stuff like that. Because
Makes a lot of sense.
the rate thing is kind of sideways, off and on. The AI thing, if NVIDIA is not going anywhere, where is like the pop? Now I say that, and of course, the market will just pop.
Yeah.
But it does feel like, going into Lexington, we're going to get a little tired, and the rally, we're going to get one of those, what we used to think of as a rally, like kind of slow, kind of grinding, those kind of low vol rallies instead of like the 20% realized vol rally. We're going to get, realized vol goes back to the eights. We just kind of here for until, because from the politics point of view, everybody's kind of yelling at each other. There's no, so I don't see much happening from that. But I think that like hot catalyst is going to start to quiet down. So I would say, I would be surprised if we closed more than 1 point outside of the, 10 points outside of the SPX range. We might have a little range intraday, but I think everything's kind of, I think we're a little tired.
I'm with you that it's a little tired. That's what I'm thinking. Like, maybe we soften up from here. I'm going to say we're going to close slightly red again.
Okay.
Maybe not hugely red, but I'm going to say down. The S&P closed 55.91 yesterday. 55.79.
Wow. Okay.
Close.
So that's 12 points.
Yeah. Qs will probably, I think NVIDIA is going to close lower today, and that'll drag the Qs lower. Right. Apple will probably still close up because Apple's Apple. Don't ever short Apple, folks.
Yeah.
It's an unstoppable force.
I was right for a day in the spring.
Yeah. It is. I cannot believe it. They're, as you say, and this is maybe the best quote I've heard, but they're pricing in something Apple currently doesn't do. So, but hey, as long as they're still pricing that in, don't mess with it.
Yeah. I liked if VIX gets back into the 14s, I think that might, we could get maybe a little bullish action, but I'm a little surprised by how stiff VIX is. Like it's only down a little bit with all the numbers out.
Yeah. Like I said,
people aren't afraid to wait for some sellers to come in.
Yeah. Well, look at yesterday, right? We're up 40, 50 and we closed the day down, yeah. Right? We're still getting big intraday swings, and that's what's holding VIX higher. All right, folks, we are up against it. We hope you have a wonderful, engaging, relaxing, long weekend. So for Andrew T. Giovinazzi, the Viking of Volatility, I am Mark Sebastian. I am your only option. This was Option Pit Live. We'll be back with you next week at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, as we are every single Friday. We'll see you guys very soon. Have a great weekend.
Have a good day, everybody.
You know how the financial world goes. Here comes the buzzkill. Please make sure to take some time to read this boring disclaimer. We will owe you one.